This is Thursday, October 1st. Here's our do now. You just took the quiz yesterday, so we're going to keep going with our study of equations. So take a moment and answer question 1 and 2. And we'll come back and talk about it in a second. But for time-wise, go ahead and pause me now. And then you're going to unpause me and I'm going to be solving it. So go ahead and pause me. Great. The formula for the volume of a rectangular prism is V equals L times W times H, where L is the length, W is the width, and H is the height. If the volume is 30, what is the length? So I normally have students come up. Okay, so something times 6 times 2 must be 30. So I can almost think of that like 30 equals something times 6 times 2. Well, 6 times 2 is 12, so we just really need to know what times 12 is 30. But hey, you know what I can do? Just divide by 12, plug that into the equation, and now I know 30 over 12 equals L. Maybe simplify it a little bit. Well, let me zoom that in. Divide them both by 6, so you get 5 over 2, which is 2.5. Okay, so our length must be 2.5. Right, 2 times what times L got us 30 units cubed, and that must be 2.5. Sweet. Okay, now here's a little tricky, but we can do it. This is very similar to the one we saw 2 days ago. So right now, the volume formula is V equals L times W times H. Can you solve it for L instead of for V? So how are we going to get L by itself? And I would invite someone up to come and see it. Well, we've got to get L by itself. Well, L is being multiplied by W and H. So what if I undo multiplication with divisions? What if I divide by W? And actually, which is really interesting, divide by both at the same time. Saves you a little more work, because H divided by H is 1, W divided by W is 1, and we're left with 1L on this side. And then we can just do V over W times H. Whoops, let me slide that out. And what some students will do is, just to show you, but that's the most simplified answer. Some students might first divide by W. So you get V over W equals LH. And then they say, well, I still have to get L alone, so let me divide both sides by H. And technically you're right. It is the correct answer. Some math teachers get really sticklers about it. It's totally right. They just don't like, because they've been told they can't have a fraction within a fraction. They don't like that. So we can remedy that by taking V over W divided by H, and then multiply by the reciprocal, which gets us V over WH. So you get there either way, but that's the answer. Okay. These are the answers to the classwork, which I think you had. We would go over it and answer any questions. You kind of had 2 days on this stuff. I don't have the answers for the second part, but normally I would ask you. So just go ahead and message me if you have any interest in me showing you the answers to these. I can include them. And we would go over them live, but since it's a recording, I don't have them right now. Oh, I do have them. Sorry. Look at that. Not there, but I had them on the next page. So there are the answers to the 14 through 18 and 20 through 26. I'd pause it now, say you want to check and see how you did. And you could always message me and send me some questions about them. But there you go. All right. We're going to start with our, go back to what we were doing 2 days ago, which is solving for a variable. This is day 2, so give yourself this heading. And there's one type we haven't talked about yet, and I've been avoiding because it's a little bit tricky. So we're going to do that now. You ready? Cool. All right, so go ahead and write this one down. Here we got 9m divided by n equals 8. Great. So we got to solve for n. And here's n right here. So what are we going to do to both sides to get n by itself? Okay, well, what do you think we should do? How are we going to get that n by itself? Here are some things students say. I'll give you some options. Always some students say you got to multiply both sides by 9m. And I say, that's great. You can multiply both sides by 9m. That's cool. You get 81m squared over n equals 72m. And then they say, oh, no, right? I'm like, yeah, you can do it. It just doesn't get us the answer. Okay, then we say, all right, let's redo that. And I say, what else could we do to both sides to get n by itself? And someone said, oh, no, divide both sides by 9m, which is fine. We can divide both sides by 9m. But then, the tricky stuff is you get 1 over n equals 8 over 9m, and you still don't have what n equals. You have what 1 over n equals. So it didn't really get there, but maybe somebody sees a way to get what n equals, sort of, right? Using this, but that's okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. So, what makes this trickier than all the rest? Well, it's because where is n located? The number we're trying to solve for. You're right, it's in the denominator. So, we need to first, if we can, get it out of the denominator. Okay? And here's what's weird. Normally when we're solving for something, if we don't touch it, we do everything else around it. But if it's in the denominator, we've got to undo it so we can get into a numerator. So what we're going to do first is actually multiply both sides by n. Okay? I should have done that in a different color, but I'll do it in green. Hopefully people can see that. So we're going to multiply both sides by n. Let's see why that helps. Well, n divided by n times m over n, you get 9mn over n, and the n's can divide out and cancel, and then you have 8 times n. Okay. See, here's n. We're solving for n. Now, within one step, we can get n by itself. Well, what can we do to get what n equals? And you're right, we can divide both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 cancels, and we get n equals 9m over 8. Okay, so that's the one tricky part about when you try to solve for a variable that's in the denominator. Okay, we're going to multiply it to both sides. And sometimes it's first, sometimes it's second or third. But if we have to solve something that's in the denominator, we're going to have to multiply both sides by that variable, so then we can actually get what n equals. There are other steps we could have figured out to get there, but that's, I think, one of the quickest ways to do it. All right, so here's another example. We're solving for n, so take a moment and write it down. Okay, we're solving for n. Where do you notice n? Denominator. Okay. So what are we going to do to both sides to solve it? And actually, we're not going to multiply both sides by n. Not yet. You could. It gets a little tricky. You can kind of get there. But first, let's leave n alone. What else could we do? Well, hopefully this plus 10 is shouting out to you. So we'll take away 10 from both sides. And then you get x minus 10 equals 9 over n. Boom. Okay. Now we're more like this one up here where it's something over n. Okay. Right, so now we're still solving for n, and we have to multiply both sides by n. And we talked about it before, when you multiply a whole side that has stuff on it, it's nice to use parentheses, okay? Okay, these n's cancel, that's what we're hoping for. And you get 9 equals n times x minus 10 equals 9. Almost there. What were we trying to solve for again? Oh yeah, we're trying to solve for n. Okay, n is still not by itself. And what do you normally do when you're solving equations when you have parentheses? You think distribute. But think about this. If you distributed, how many n's would you have now? If you distributed the n, how many things would have n in them? 2. That's the opposite. We only want a single n. So what we're going to do instead is undo what's being multiplied by n. What's being multiplied by n? Well, this whole thing, x minus 10. So, anything divided by itself, 5 divided by 5, 10 divided by 10, a million times divided by a million, it's just 1. So there we go. We got rid of our n. I meant get everything near n. So we get n equals 9 over x minus 10. Cool. Questions? Pause it, think about it. Okay. So we'll take one more. Why don't you pause me right now? Solve this for n. Okay, pause me if you're not. I'm going to go with it. Okay, so if y equals x minus 2 over n. Okay, so we have n. We have x minus 2 on top. You know what? Just going to multiply both sides by n. I think that's going to be a good start to get there. Let's see what happens. That's 1. We get ny equals x minus 2. Okay. Well, what are we solving for again? N. That's right. So here's n. So we will divide both sides by y. Y divided by y cancels. It's 1. You get n equals x minus 2 over y. There you go. Okay. So that's the kind of new stuff. So I want you to practice that a little bit more. Our classwork today is 61, page 86, page 88, 20 through 22. And I'll have to post that. I haven't posted it yet, but I'll post a picture of it. And you can work on it. Whatever you don't finish is going to be for homework. So starting class, whatever you don't finish is for homework. I'll be around checking in with you if you were here in person. Okay.